Hi, I'm Andrea. I'm a Youth Services Librarian at the Hickory Corner branch of the Mercer County Library System, and today I'm going to show you how to make my famous crispy rice treats. I call them famous because in my family and circle of friends, I'm asked to make them all the time. I often give them as gifts, and I would like to share with you today how I make them a little bit extra special with a couple added ingredients and some really great tips for making it much easier for you. These are a no bake and no stove recipe, so they're great to make with your kids. You can melt the marshmallows on the stove, but honestly, the microwave is super easy and they come out great, so don't worry about that. And there's also, there's no flour in this, so right now I'm having a hard time finding flour at the grocery store, so it's a great way to do baking without flour. And just because there's no flour, it doesn't mean they're gluten-free. But you can find crispy rice cereal and marshmallows with no gluten. You would have to look for those specially, but you can find them. Also, you can use vegan marshmallows if you're vegan. So there's lots of different ways to adapt this recipe for your dietary needs. I'm going to be using regular crispy rice cereal. I'm not saying the name of the name brand. It may slip out, but I'll be honest with you, I don't often use that name brand cereal in these. I buy whatever generic brand I can find. And so let's get started. So you're going to need your crispy rice cereal, or sometimes it's called toasted rice cereal. You'll need 6 cups of that. I have that pre-measured. Mini marshmallows. I like to use the mini ones. I use the entire 10-ounce bag, whatever brand you like. You're going to need butter. I use 4 tablespoons or a half of a stick. I cube it up so that when you melt it in the microwave, it melts a little faster and easier, and I'll do that for you when we get started. I also add, when it comes out of the microwave, I add a teaspoon of vanilla. That's one of those little extra ingredients I told you about. And believe it or not, I actually add a few grinds or a little pinch of sea salt, because a little salt on something sweet enhances the flavor, and it's just that much better when you're done. Okay, and you'll also need a little bit of cooking spray. If you don't want to use cooking spray, you can use a little bit more butter, and this is just for greasing the pan or greasing your hands and things, because melted marshmallow is super sticky. So we're gonna get started by doing that. We're gonna grease our pan. What I like to do is, instead of spraying it right on the pan, I spray it onto a paper towel, and then I just go around the pan like that. And like I said, because it's a very sticky treat, you want to make sure that it's nicely greased, mostly so that you can get them out of the pan later. Okay, so that's nicely greased. We're gonna set that off to the side because we don't need that just yet. Okay, and you're gonna wanna start with your marshmallows. So I already have them poured out here. And you are going to wanna cut up your butter. Here is my first great tip for you. This wrapper that comes on the butter is invaluable. Do not throw it away until the very end. Hold on to that, okay? And I'm just gonna cut it up into about 4 pieces and just throw it in here. Okay, so the next step is going to be putting the marshmallow and butter into the microwave to melt. Now, my microwave has a pretty high wattage. I'm only gonna put it in for 1.5 minutes, and that was enough in my first batch. If your microwave does not melt it in 1.5 minutes, what I would do is take it out after 1.5 minutes, give it a good stir, and then add another 30 seconds and give it a stir again. I wouldn't just set it and leave it. I would keep checking on it, because you do not want to either burn it or overheat your marshmallows. So I'm going to put on my microwave here and put this in for 1 minute and 30 seconds and press start. Now, one thing that I like to do with my daughter is I like to incorporate a literary element into everything that we do. And we did not have a book about crispy rice treats, or Rice Krispie treats, or whatever you want to call them. So she took it upon herself to write a little book, and I just have to share it with you because it's just so adorable. It's called The Happy Rice Krispie Treat. And she drew all the illustrations, and then she told me the story, and I just wrote it down. This is a Rice Krispie treat. He liked playing with his toy car. One day, lime cake, lemon, and chocolate Tootsie Pop came over to play with Rice Krispie treat. Rice Krispie treat was very happy to see his friends. I think she's missing her friends right now. Lemon was very happy to see Rice Krispie treat. When his friends left, Rice Krispie Treat sang a song. I'm a happy Rice Krispie Treat, I like to play with my friends. I'm a happy Rice Krispie Treat, I like to eat every day, and I like to sing. The end. And then she even has a little back cover on here where she features all the characters, and of course, as the author and illustrator, she had to put her name. So this is a nice little activity you can do with your kids. If you're home with them, you can have them make their own little books, and it's just something fun to pass some time. So it seems like our marshmallows and butter are ready to check on, so I'm going to take them out. Okay, and I'm going to show this to you. I know it doesn't really look done, but I'm going to give it a stir. Rubber silicone spatula is something, or silicone spatula is really important. I'm going to give it a really vigorous mix. Do you see how it's kind of deflating as I'm stirring? I know it doesn't really look like it's completely melted, but as you stir, that residual heat will continue to melt the marshmallows. And like I said before, you do not want to overheat this, so I'm actually going to call this done. I'm not going to put it back in. Now, if yours is still pretty solid, go ahead and put it back in for another 30 seconds or so, maybe even less, and check on it again and give it a stir. Okay, that is done. So now I'm gonna add those secret ingredients. Not so secret anymore because I told you. So a teaspoon of vanilla. Now this will tint it a little bit, but it's totally worth it for the flavor. Okay, so teaspoon of vanilla extract. Make sure you're using pure vanilla extract and not the imitation. Okay, and a few grinds of this sea salt. I'm only gonna do 3. You don't need a lot to enhance the flavor. Okay, I'm gonna give that another mix. Just to get it all in there. See, I told you it's gonna tint it a little bit, but I don't really mind that tinted color. And then all you need to do is pour in your crispy rice cereal. Now for this part, I recommend a technique called folding. So you're gonna start kind of on the bottom and pull it towards the top. Okay, if you mix it too much the traditional way, you could break up the cereal, and then it just kind of is all crushed, and I just don't think it looks as nice. It changes the kind of the texture a little bit. So do you see how I'm reaching from the bottom and pulling towards the top and doing this folding technique? So you're going to keep doing that until it's really well coated with the marshmallow mixture. Yes, it's going to be sticky, and yes, your forearm is going to get a little bit of a workout here, but that's okay. Okay, I think we are good. Do you see how it's kind of pulling away from the sides there? Nice and sticky, ooey gooey. Okay, get out that pre-greased pan. And you're just gonna pour it in. Just like that. Okay, now if you are doing this at home, you're gonna wanna get every last bit of goodness off of that spoon and off of that bowl. But for the sake of time, I'm just gonna set that off to the side, and I'm going to pull out my secret weapon, that butter wrapper. Okay, it's already pre-greased, and it's made of wax paper, so it won't stick when you press your Rice Krispie Treats down into your pan. Okay, if you accidentally threw out the butter wrapper, no problem. Grab a piece of parchment paper or wax paper. If you don't have parchment or wax paper, here's another little trick. Just wet your hands, just a little bit. That little bit of moisture on your hands will help the marshmallows not stick. Okay, so I've done it a whole bunch of different ways, but this butter wrapper, it's already there for you. Why not use it? Okay, so you press it into the pan like that. You can make it nice and even. So I'm gonna set those off to the side, and I'm going to show you ones I made earlier, because I think it's important that you let it set before you try to cut them. If you don't let it set, they're gonna be really sticky when you try to pull them apart. So these are one I made earlier this morning. See, all nice and set. Another tip for your knife. You can take the butter wrapper again, you can grease up the knife, you can use the cooking spray, or again, a little bit of warm water so that when you go to cut them, it cuts them nice and evenly and your knife doesn't get super, super sticky. I like to store them in an airtight container. I don't like to put them in the fridge. I think it hardens up too much. They will stay at room temperature, fine, no problem. I'd like to also share with you a few tips on how you can take these up a notch. So, plain Rice Krispie Treats are amazing. They're super simple. As you can see, we did them so fast. But if you want to make them a little more special, special, there are a couple things that you can do. I'm gonna grab all of my tips and tricks over here. Okay, so say you wanna make them a fun color. When you take the marshmallow out, you can just add a little bit of food coloring. Any color you want to the marshmallow, you can tint it, and then they're a special color. You can also just sprinkle some sprinkles on top, and that will add some color. If you want, you can add royal icing or this stuff that comes in a bag like this. It's called cookie icing, and after just like a minute, it hardens so that you can stack them on top of each other. You don't have to worry about the icing sticking, and the icing hardens. Same thing with royal icing. You can again add sprinkles or whatever design you want to do, and they look really pretty. If you've got cookie cutters at home, I've done these for holidays. I did a ribbon for a cancer walk once, and I made Rice Krispie treats for the participants. And so yeah, get out your cookie cutters and just press the cookie cutter in and take it out, and you've got a pretty gift you can give someone, or for like a bake sale or something, just makes them a little bit more attractive. Okay, and one of the other things you can do, melt some chocolate, and you can dip them in chocolate. You can dip them in the different colored chocolates. They sell candy melts out there, so you can dip them in different colors. You can use them as favors at baby showers, weddings, anything like that, birthday parties, okay? They're really easy to mold too, so you can make little pops with them. And speaking of molds, one thing I did at holiday time was instead of using a 9 by 13 pan, I pressed it into my pretty bundt pan here. And then I sprinkled it with holiday colors, and I made a Rice Krispie cake. So it's very versatile, and again, so super easy. So I hope you give this a try and have fun with it. Bye.